What is up, everybody? I'm Courtney.
I'm Sean.
We are Hill City Paranormal,
Hill City in the house.
aka HCP Paranormal Podcast.
Gang, gang.
Yeah. Got a couple people in here already. Thank y'all for tuning in on this fine Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. For those of you that tuned in previously, we are back with author Olivia James. Hey, Ronnie, Bedford Paranormal.
What's up, Ronnie?
Hey, Emily.
Lost Souls in the house.
Mama D. As we prepare. All right. So, anyway, without further ado, we are back for part 2 with author Olivia James. For those of you that missed the last time, we'll do a quick recap. Olivia is a unique person who is sharing her experiences with the world of being raised up in government programs such as MK Ultra. So I'm not going to make you guys wait any longer. We had so much to talk about the last time. So please help us welcome back Miss Olivia James.
Hi, thank you for having me back.
Hey, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
few people saying hi. Hey, Shonda and Michael.
Shout out FPR.
Hey guys, Sam from Wyoming is tuned in.
Sam.
Mom says she can't wait to talk to Olivia. All right. So, without further ado, I am not even going to sit here and lie to you and say that I remember the very last thing you said, but I know that you were a wealth of knowledge into what happened to you via personal experiences from a child on up. So, can you just, for everybody that's tuning in now, can you just do a very brief recap and then hit us with some new information that you didn't get to do last time?
Sure. So to summarize, I became involved in MK Ultra and sometimes we call it secret space programs, but I call it the programs, based because of my father who was in military intelligence and he did drug trafficking. So in order to stay out of prison, he signed me over. And that's how I got into MK Ultra and working for various jobs for them, like corporate espionage. They did a lot of occult programming and a lot of occult jobs that they have out there. So that was also some of the things that they had us do, starting all the way back as children, all the way up into adulthood.
All right. That's just, I know last time you kept a lot of us speechless with some of the stories and some of the things that you endured as a child. So, I really am interested to pick up where we left off. I believe the last time we were talking, one of the last things you said is that they have different offices on other planets.
Yeah. and it's crazy how much detail I was able to recall from these areas. Just in regards to being in their corporate sector. So it's really interesting to, kind of remember that. Of course, when I first started remembering it, I thought I was, going crazy. Like it was crazy that the stuff I remembered, and it would come through in big chunks. And I had no idea that it was because, you know, I was starting to have bleed through memories, but also because I was working in a corporate sector. So a lot of the information that came through was interesting. So I just wanted to give you guys a little snippet of the information that I was getting. So it's really interesting to hear it. So I was in Scout class entry level Site 27. I got approved for my ranking on September 22nd, 1994. And in 2006, I got transferred to enemy engagement processes. And that was in the South Canal region of a McCreary base. And I was under mission classified. And we also worked with some of the ships there. And one of them was called the Air Command Vessel. And it was for exploration and encounters. And I have a code for what type of asset I was. And it was called an intelligence scribe. And also on my file, it said I was coded for re-entry under the special sector of linguistics and retrieval. So imagine if you start remembering this stuff and you're a normal person thinking you're having a normal life and you start remembering things like that. Like in my mind, I was like, how would I even know this? How would this come to my head? Like, where did this come from? I mean, that's not normal information. And it's very detailed. It wasn't like it was coming and some people get it like in a dream or something, and they think,
Right.
who knows what's happening. But this was like I would just be down on the couch and I'd get a like that. Sometimes they call it downloads and things like that, but it really was in my subconscious, and it was like kind of like pushing through as hard as it could. It was almost like my
Now,
alter were pushing it.
now, how did you get access to your file? Because isn't that something that's even more classified?
Yes. Well, the way I can get access to my files is remote viewing. That's how I got mine, because that was one of the first things I ever remember was my service number. I have a service number, it's a 4 numbers, and then it's also where I was under Division Mariner. So I was under a ground force battalion on Mars, but my division was Mariner. So it's really interesting to see that kind of thing, and I wouldn't have no idea what that kind of stuff meant. It was just in my head. So I thought it was really cool, and when I first got that information, of course, it scared me, and I didn't know what it meant, so I just went
Right.
searching. And the answers were in my own mind, in my own experiences, and that's how I found a lot of the information, was in my own head, doing a
So,
lot of,
so I
work
missed
with
that
remote
part.
viewing.
The
Mhm.
last time we chatted, I missed that part. So they actually moved you to the planet Mars.
Yeah, so and this is not out of the to me, it's not out of the ordinary, because in the disclosure community, there's a lot of us that had a similar experiences in being taken to other bases. So when we're thinking about, the government, they don't just have, bases on Earth, they have them everywhere. And for me, it's not really that hard to believe, because they are so involved in power and conquest and control, and they want to control everything. And there's a lot of different private agencies that are kind of like battling. We call them factions, but they're kind of like battling each other, trying to get, the most control in this world and other worlds.
Right. Now, D Down said so specifically Mars. She kind of touched on that a little bit. So Olivia herself was specifically on Mars, yes, but there were other sectors on other planets where they would send other people.
Oh yeah. So there's other people that they get treated really shitty. They get taken as like almost like slaves. They're working slave jobs. And not saying that I wasn't a slave, because I do consider myself, when I was in the programs, you are a slave, because it's not like you're getting paid, you're not getting rewarded or anything. You're being forced to do this kind of thing under threat. So none of us are getting compensated for anything. So we're just forced to do this. So to me, it's slavery. It's real modern slavery.
Right.
So
Can you see the comments that are coming in by chance?
yes, MK Ultra. That was the main program I was put in as a child, is MK Ultra. I was going to
At
say
the age
that,
of 7, right?
yes, when I was 7. So I ended up getting transferred to Mars. I think I was around 29, and it was because the work I had done for corporate espionage and things as a younger person, they said I had been so successful at that. It was almost like a promotion. So they promoted me to a corporate sector. So I was able to get out of some of that work that I was doing and go into more an office space, in which in this office space we were pretty much, what I was doing is just whenever there was new recruits coming into the base, I would meet with them for about an hour or so and kind of evaluate everything just by on what they were saying, and that's how I would choose jobs for them. So I
Oh,
was
wow.
choosing jobs on the base for these new recruits. And in those days, I'm talking about early, late 90s, early 2000s, they were still, taking people as children and things like that. But when I was getting ready to leave there in the mid 2000s or whatever, most of the recruits they were having were volunteers. So we don't, sometimes you hear about people saying that they're going overseas and things like that. They won't be back for, a certain amount of time. Some of those people are going off planet and being placed on bases and other places. And that's why you don't see them for a long time or whatever. And nobody ever knows. So, and when I meet with those types of people, when I was meeting with them in the office, they are excited. They think that, they're in a movie and they're going to be, fighting aliens and doing that. And it's totally not like that. Most of the people that got sent to my office to get placed in a job, they're doing janitorial, they're doing, working at the stores, they're working
The
on,
stuff they don't want to
transportation.
do.
Yeah, all these jobs that this is not what they thought they signed up for. They're not doing stuff like on the movies. It's very regular. They had like a water treatment division, waste management. They even had an entertainment division, things like that, things
All
that
on
they would get
other
you.
planets.
Yeah, it was on the, but it's mostly a lot of it is American. America has their own base there. The Germans have their own base there. There's actual colonists that were taken there that they have, they have their own thing. And people are obviously the colonists are treated better than everyone else. On
Sure.
base, on base, I hate to see it, but it's a very patriarchal type situation on base, even though they know women are able to do. So I don't really talk about this too much, but the things that people think about women on Earth is not real. They think we're very dainty and, think that is not real. From what I've seen women be able to do in other situations and other programs, it would blow people's minds away because they have an idea about who they think we are. And a lot of us are conforming ourselves to what society expects of women. And it's just not real. It's just not real. So on these other areas, they were allowing us to be more than what we would be here on Earth. You can be scary, you can be strong, you can be, almost to an equal state of as a man in terms of physicality because of the augmentations that they provide, the training, the chemicals. So you don't feel as weak as you do here. We feel, in our strength, we feel weaker, but in other areas we didn't have to be like that. All of us were
Right.
trained to have certain abilities and things like that. So you didn't feel like the weaker sex out there. But the thing is, it's still patriarchal in the way that they still had the thinking, though, that in terms of sexuality and things that they could do certain things. And a lot of times you weren't allowed to fight back if somebody tried to, especially when you could kill them if they tried to, do something to you. They don't want us doing that. So it was kind of taboo for you to fight back with another, coworker or colleague. And what's really weird is they very much target for these types of programs and for leaders in these programs, they target psychopaths and sociopaths. Those are very well sought after people because of the mind frame. They think those types of people can make the hard decisions without that, empathy standing in the way of
Right.
conquest. So they
Right.
target sociopaths. So a lot of us women, we're living amongst them. We're working with them every day. Think about it, we're working with psychotic psychopaths every single day, sometimes as our bosses, as our colleagues and things like that. So it's not really a safe environment. You really have to be on guard all the time.
Right. Now, Dee was asking, how have you been able to support yourself while you're in this program? Is this a lucrative position that you're taking? Or
No.
is it kind of, you come here, I'm going to feed you, clothe you, and house you?
Yes, there is not even any money there. Not really. Everything is taken care of for you. So it's really strange. I do remember one time though, I did do something for a reward, and it was okay, so nobody liked me on when I was in that job because part of my job when they were coming to the office is that if I thought somebody would go against the status quo, I had to alert like an upper management of that situation. Like if I met somebody with my abilities, if I was able to tell that they could go against the status quo, I was supposed to, write that in there. So people didn't like me. They thought that I was, whatever, a traitor, who knows what they thought, but it was just part of my job that I had to do. But
Right.
anyways, there was this time, and like I said, they had an entertainment division, so I was hoping that people would see me in a different light if I volunteered to be like do an exhibition on one of the weekends. So one of the weekends I volunteered to do an exhibition, and pretty much is just two girls, you kind of dress up and they want you to kind of sword fight to the death kind of thing. And pretty much a lot of the girls, they were asking for like, you can pick a reward. They asked for like some goofy stuff like, jewelry and stuff that means nothing on other
Right.
planets. It means nothing. That the value is what we've assigned it here, but out there, jewelry means nothing. So they
Sure.
would, pick a bracelet. And me, what I wanted, I said I wanted a steak and a baked potato. That because I wanted earth food. So I thought that was the best, prize. If I won, then I wanted a steak. So
Sure.
it's like people are risking their lives for a steak and a baked potato. It's crazy. It's
That is
insane.
crazy. Now, Howie has a question for you here.
Sure.
I put it up on the screen for you.
What I need more clarification on what they're kind of asking.
What was she agminated, cell structure, etc.? She can say, I do not want to answer. I will understand.
Howie, can you clarify that a little bit more?
Yeah,
Maybe elaborate?
On Agminated. D Down said Zuko in the house. Yes, y'all saw my dog here. Larry said, I just got here with y'all talking about people living on other planets.
Yes, Larry.
So, on our show, we have guests who have different experiences in life, whether it be paranormal, extraterrestrial, dealing with different things, different beings in life. And tonight's topic happens to be author Olivia James and her personal experiences with what she's experienced through life. And we talk about it all. It's not just all paranormal. Even though there are some stuff paranormal, we talk about it all, everything.
Yes. Now, D Down said it sounds like a form of brainwashing, no disrespect intended there.
It's a huge form of mind control.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, mind control continues all the way through. You're expected to stay under mind control, but certain people, it breaks down. Like for me, it broke down, and that's when I started to have problems. But I was going to answer Howie's questions. I think he's thinking of when I'm talking about augments and why women have, are stronger. It is their augments are tech. So they have extremely advanced tech. So if they want you to be strong, you will be strong. You could be, 100 pounds and be as strong as a man if they wanted to. There's chemicals and everything.
He was talking about cell restructure, mental reconstruction, and cell mutation.
Yeah, all of it. They're using all of that. I've seen it with my own eyes doing remote viewing. Some of the experiments they're doing on some of these planets. There's one particular lab, and it's called Harcourt Lab. So in this particular lab, I saw on their table, they had some type of alien, and this alien, he had almost like tusks. I don't know if you've ever heard of I don't know the name of the actual race of these aliens, but he wasn't, when I
like
remote viewed him, it almost looked like elephant tusks, but in the face, it's hard to explain. He had tusks, but when I remote viewed him, he wasn't, to me, a negative energy at all. I didn't feel like he was trying to harm anybody. He was mostly afraid. So what they're trying to do, these scientists are studying him because they're torturing him constantly on that table because they think that they can figure out how to make us stronger, their own assets stronger by torturing this person because he doesn't show any type of reactionary response to trauma. So though, they can rip pieces of his skin off, he doesn't move, he doesn't cry, he doesn't make a sound. And they don't know why he does that because they want that for us. They want to see if humans can do that. But what they don't know is on the inside is where it's showing, because when I remote viewed him, he had a specific way that he was trying to almost push himself into a different shift in consciousness, so the pain wasn't as bad. I felt like he was thinking about his family, thinking about getting back home. He wasn't really focused on the pain. So it was really interesting how they were and he's not gonna last. He's not gonna last. From the last time I saw him, it looked like he was on his last leg. They're pretty much, torturing him until death to get this information.
So Howie said they're wanting to get him to respond to see if he has any abilities. Is that what they're doing, or?
They wanted to get him to respond to see why he is not responding to trauma. Because, sometimes when we respond to trauma, it's an ouch, it's a cry, it's a scream, it's a holler. He doesn't do any of that. He didn't do, and this was it was on a scientific lab called Harcourt. So it's hard to get names like that, but I really feel like in the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be so much more information about this. It's going to blow people's mind, and they're going to remember that we were on this show and we discussed it, and they're going to be like, holy smokes, they were talking about it all those years back.
Yeah.
So before we go any further, I'd like to just take a few seconds, and you've got a few listeners in here, but we got a lot of teams in here tonight. Just again, I want to shout out Tyler Darnell, the haunted photographer, along with John Sullivan with Fredericksburg Paranormal. Both of those guys are with them. We've got Dinner with the Ghost, Mr. John. I believe it's John Cushman.
John and Debbie.
But it could be Debbie. It could be both. So the Cushmans, let's welcome them with Dinner with the Ghost. We got, of course, Howie's been talking, but I like to shout out his team as well, ASPS. We got Ryan Jones with Cabin on a 360.
And the freaking awesome
and the
paranormal
freaking
show.
awesome paranormal show, which airs right after our show at 9 o'clock.
Yes.
But he stops by to say hello, as we will do him when we get off the air. So I wanted, if I missed anybody, I apologize. We got Lois Clark. We saw you. I don't know if you caught the wave or not. Larry Arnold. I think I didn't miss anybody since then, but I just wanted to acknowledge the teams and the support they show
We've
as
got
well.
Lost Souls.
Lost Souls. I believe I shouted them out, but if I didn't, they're awesome as well. I just wanted to take a second to say hello to these people who tune in every week. Ronnie Anderson, I believe, was in here earlier for Bedford Paranormal. These people tune in every week, and they're all listening to you. So just wanted to make sure I didn't leave these guys out as well. And so
we thank you all.
D Downs, Mom, I love you. All right. So D Down said, "Isn't Mars cold at times?" And what was that like?
Sometimes to me, it reminds me more of a temperate climate. So on the chillier side, but not like where you're freezing out, freezing to death. And anyways, any type of clothing or suit you wear on that planet is protective. So we don't really feel it, especially most of us are mostly living in the underground base. Everybody's living underground. So that's why you don't catch a lot of things. But if you've ever seen some type of those Mars rovers and the people doing like the Mars, they're checking out, they're finding weird anomalies on the surface. I feel like a lot more of that's going to be coming out, but they hide it pretty well. But it's just because everybody's underground. So if you were able to dig down a little bit, there'd be so much there.
I got questions about Mars. So they say there's a picture that was caught of like a ape-like creature or gorilla or something just sitting there chilling on a rock. Is that real, or is that just what some others say is a camera angle? Or
there's so many beings on there. There's a lot of beings on that planet. Most of them are human. Most of them are like humanoids, but there are some mantid-like beings on there. Spiders. The spiders on that planet are gnarly. They almost look like you know what coconut crabs are? Those giant crabs.
yeah.
Giant coconut they look like that. Like those are like their little house spiders are that big. And
No,
they
no.
definitely you have to watch your stomach because that's where they target. Like the spiders, they target the stomach. If they want to open you up or fight back or something, they'll target the stomach.
So I'm going to shoot a question at you because
I don't do spiders.
There's a lot of people who are watching that's probably like, well, why haven't we seen any of this? Or why don't what's the why is it so secretive that about life being on Mars? Why is it still a question?
It's a lot of it is because people are slaves. For one thing, they can't show that children are taken, tortured, traumatized, and sent to these places to work in military and things like that. They don't want people to know that. And if people did find out about this, which they will find out in 5 to 10 years, they will know. But when they do, think about, a normal person, they're going to like freak out. They're going to have a heart attack. They're literally going to have a heart attack,
So what you're saying is, and just so I'm following you, and it makes sense what you're saying. As long as we think that you cannot exist or live or survive or function on a planet, you can hide all kind of stuff in plain sight.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay,
yes.
that makes sense.
I remember when I was young, there was a time I went there before I was stationed there. There was and I actually remember the person's name, everything. It's crazy. So this gentleman, his name was Hale Schmeels, and all of his friends called him Smiles because of the way his last name was spelled. But he had requested that I go there, and I was younger. I think I was in my early 20s, because for some reason they thought that I could do something with this. He was actually like a director of the antiquities division there. They have a big antiquities division where they're, doing their research projects and everything for some of the ancient structures. There's so much there. We could spend just one book of what they have would keep us all, enthralled for I don't even know how long. It's amazing. But they had this one thing in the ground, and to me, when I went there, it looked like it was just like these flat, I don't know, stone panels. They didn't look like it. But he said it was a pyramid. I'm like, I don't know how it's a pyramid. It's flat. And they expected me to know what to do, and I didn't. I had no clue what they wanted me to do, but it was something in my blood that knew what to do, because as soon as I stepped forward towards it, it started to turn on, and I had no idea why. They said it was well, I know from my own looking into my past lives and parallel lives and things like that, that once I was a zeta, like a zeta reticulan, and in the ancient far back past they had religion. So I was one of their shamans way back in the past, and think that that's how I was able to turn this thing on, because there's something in my cells, in the blood at a cellular level, that is still that part of me, that is still part zeta, and that's what was attracted and able to turn the machine on. I had no clue what to do with it. It was just a flat panel of stone in terms of when I looked at it. So they considered that kind of like a successful thing. But what they don't know is that I call that machine the God machine, because it will turn somebody into a demigod. It's a weapon, and they don't know what they have in their hands. I don't think, or maybe they do. From what I could tell, they look pretty naive about the power of this machine. This is ancient alien technology. So it could just destroy this whole planet if they falls into the wrong hands, it's gone. So this thing is so massive too. And it's just stone blocks, which is so strange. It must have something on the inside structure or something. I don't know how to tell, but it was really interesting that kind of happened.
Now, to wrap that into paranormal, though, sorry, I'll let you go in a second. To wrap that kind of into the paranormal world, could it be that since you have this ability on a cellular level, that maybe it requires your energy to turn it on?
It could, because how else would I didn't know in my mind how to turn it on. All I did was step forward, and they had been stepping forward, so it was the coordinator of the antiquities, and a few of his staff members. They had been walking around it, stepping forward, nothing turned on. But when I came forward, it turned on. And somehow they knew already that I could turn it on, which I didn't know. So there must be something in a file somewhere that kind of lists some of the things I do. I'm not quite sure how they knew. How would they know to call me there, in terms of everybody else? It was really strange.
Right.
So going away from that just for a second, D Downs asked, what about human bodily functions on Mars? How's it disposed of? And what about bathing and sanitation?
So I don't remember a ton about, that the specifics of it. I remember a lot of us looking just normal. There was not a lot of stink pots running around, so I can't remember the exact way we were showering. I remember I always looked nice though. I was always, dressed for work, looking really nice. And sometimes we had a little bit of makeup to go around and things like that. But I don't remember like that. But I do know they had a waste management division that people actually worked in. So
So,
it
so
kind
is
of
it
grosses me out to
like
think that what they were using, I don't know if they're reusing waste. It kind of grosses me out to think that, because
Yeah.
you don't see it. You don't see it really anywhere. So in their waste management, and they have a water treatment center and all that, because they don't have a ton of water, so they're making sure that everything's taken care of properly.
Right.
so? Like I could imagine, like a lot of the movies we watch, like Men in Black, for example. Um, a lot of that stuff is like, is that trying to tell us something? Because like
I think so. I
a lot
think
of
so
what you're telling
sometimes.
me seems
Yeah.
like a lot of stuff you would see in a movie.
There have been quite a few movies that I'm like, holy smokes, look at that. I always like, if I see something that triggers me, I'm like, oh my God. I start freaking out. I'm like, disclosure, disclosure. Like I start freaking out. Like if I see
I
something that
bet.
actually is from something that I've seen with my own eyes, then I'm like, holy smoke, they're really trying to tell us, what they're doing, just so they can. It's almost like they're getting our consent by like showing us stuff, and we don't say anything. They just go about their day. They're like, oh, okay, they don't care. They don't care
Because
that
we're
children are
taught it's
being
just
tortured.
Hollywood.
Yeah, they don't care children are being tortured, and there's, there's a alien war on here, and nobody cares.
So it sounds to me like underground on these planets, you literally have functioning cities
Oh, it
with
is a city down there. It is.
drinking water, with waste management, just as though you would go and drive to your nearest city. You have all that stuff. Minus, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't sound like you guys really have any leisure time as far as like we do with shopping and things like that. Things are just provided.
Colonists did. The colonists had a normal life, but we didn't. You were expected to just work, go home, and pretty much just sit around. I don't
And
remember
they just
being around
deliver
other people.
groceries to you, or
It's almost like a you
or
know,
they're already there.
what do you call it when like a hall, like a mess hall kind of where everybody goes and you get your food and you're on your way. I never remembered being hungry or anything like that. They provided all of your basic essential needs, but except for emotional, you know,
Yeah.
because of the particular job I had, which was personality profiling and dealing with so many people. They didn't want me to be around a lot of people because I think they thought that it would affect my ability, if I'm, interacting with people too much, that would affect how I'm able to read them. And they, in a way, they were right, because that's the time when my programming started to break down. And it was so crazy because I had no idea that that I would start remembering things from Earth. I had no clue, because they thought they mind wipe us so well that we'd never remember, but it starts to bleed through. And I started to kind of panic, and I started to not do a good job at my position. I was sneaking into my boss's office. I'd look through his computer and I didn't find anything, but I knew something was there. And what it was really weird is that same time kind of corresponded to something that happened to me on Earth. It was really weird. So when it was happening to me on Earth, it was the same thing that had happened to me on Mars. And that's why it had such a huge impact. And that's actually how I started to get memories, is because of a job I obtained here on Earth was similar to a job I had out there. And that's when I started to get a lot of anxiety and what's wrong with me? Who am I? Like, why am I thinking all these things, and why am I getting all this information? I had no idea what was wrong. It was just coming flooding. And same thing happened on Mars. I had this issue and I called it, like, I knew something was wrong. I felt like I was dreaming almost, in a way, because I was thinking about things that I had no clue what it meant, because it was just really strange. But I ended up getting demoted because I couldn't do the job that they wanted me to do. I was, having emotional issues, which on this planet, you are not allowed to have emotional issues. The culture is so tight knit. And conformity is a huge theme there. So if you're falling outside of those lines, you're in big trouble. So I wasn't able to conform properly with what they wanted, and they ended up demoting me and sending me to a couple of other different jobs, which those jobs were fine, and maybe I also like enjoyed them a little better. But I was going to say that when you're having emotional issues, you really feel like you're going crazy, because they have no words on that planet for emotional issues like depression or anxiety. There is no words for that. It's not even in their vocabulary. So if I'm looking at the way I was acting there, I was I was going into a deep depression. So there's just not a
Hmm.
description for it on that planet. So I was probably depressed, and I didn't know how to, deal with it properly. So I ended up getting demoted. I ended up working for as a liaison for some incoming ships, and that was pretty easy. You were signing off on forms, and it was really no big deal. And I tried to carry that out to the end of my career there, my 20 years. But I also did a short stint on what we consider like a medical satellite station. And on this particular satellite station, I was doing something like what a medical social worker would do. If people were going there for they go there for all kinds of reasons. If they're faction or division or general, they want them to go and have like some type of augment or medical, any type of medical surgery or anything. They would have to come. I would have to go and make sure we had consent, just like they do here on Earth, signing forms saying, yes, I consent to this particular treatment or surgery. So there's a lot of layers of consent that they have. So this is what's going to be crazy for when this information does come out. You know, it's going to be hard to say that they forced us because of the amount of paperwork and amount of consent they have, because
Yep.
it's such a big deal. We've given them consent because we were forced to. But in terms of like being able to take it somewhere further, they're going to say, well, look, there's a form here saying that you said, okay, that they can do this to you. And it's true. There is a lot of layers of consent and a lot of signatures.
So Howie said they don't have replicators like food, etc. McDonald's pink goo, for example. Just saying.
I don't remember that kind of stuff. I just don't. The only time I remembered having a good meal is when I won a sword fight once and I ended up getting a steak and a baked potato. So that was my favorite part.
Dee said, so you weren't allowed to have emotional feelings. Were you ever attracted to anybody?
Yeah, when I ended up working when I was working for the ships, I met one person. Um and it was really strange. He was one of the people that worked on a cargo ship, and he brought me. We were dating for a short time, and he brought me a gift on one of his travels, and he brought it back to me. I swear I acted like it was a diamond ring just because it was from somewhere other than Mars. It was, do you know those little Debbie cakes, the raspberry zingers?
Yeah.
It was one of those. He brought it back. So I acted like it was the best gift I'd ever had. It was a raspberry zinger. It must have been like something in my memory. Like when I ate it, it was probably like the best thing I'd ever had. I don't know. It was so strange
I
to think
bet.
of that.
So, Dinner with a Ghost asked, how far ahead in technology are they compared to us?
Oh, I can't even count. It's probably hundreds of years.
I
It's probably
believe it.
100 years. And it's not like we don't have it. We do have the technology. They just hide it from us normal people. Like when we're here on Earth, they don't let us know that they have it because they don't want us to. Like
Right.
they can cure all these diseases. You can literally get almost your head chopped off and be put back together. It's insane. The medical technology is the most important. If we had that here, you would see such huge differences in the way, our lives are probably.
Yeah. I
So
mean, oh,
I
go
hear
ahead.
you say you don't remember a lot of stuff, and it's making my mind go back to again Men in Black. Did they
Yeah.
like do something to alter or
Yeah.
erase parts of your memory before you came back to Earth?
Yeah.
All of us, when you
I
return
thought
back to
so.
Earth, you get what they call it mind wipe. We call it mind wiping. But for when everybody, a lot of different factions do it different because it's not just on Mars that they have bases. There's other factions because I worked under a particular faction called Mars Defense Force, which is MDF. There's other factions out there on different areas that have different bases. There's one called Nachtwaffen. There's one called Solar Warden. They're all over the place. So it's different. But in my particular faction, that's just you know what was going on there. So that's how I speak to that, is from the particular one that I worked
I've,
for. And I
I've
only
heard the
worked on
name
one
Yahshua
base.
before.
Yeah, yeah, Nachtwaffen.
Is
I only
that
worked on
German?
one base. Yeah, that's the
Or-
German group. Yep.
I've heard that before, actually.
So, I want to ask, I think my number one question during both the podcast and our time chatting, which I did follow your TikTok and I did, watch a lot of your stuff, and it's very
Oh, great,
compelling.
great, great. Yeah.
Um, but I guess, my emotions are wanting me to ask this number one question, which is, when you came back to Earth, what kind of like safeguards did you put in place to protect your mental health once you were discharged from this? Or I think last time you said you're never really discharged, they just kind of
No,
you
you're
know
not discharged. And when
send you back home.
they mind wipe you, and they also use technology and chemicals to push you back to like whenever they took you. So if they took me at 19, they'll, use chemicals to push my age back to 19 and then just put me back where I was, like on Earth. So I was living a pretty shitty life here on Earth at age 19. So I will go and do that work. They mind wipe you, age regress you, and I return back to my shitty life here.
Well, that does not sound fun at all. But like
No.
now, now, I mean, I feel like if you're going to take me out of a shitty life, at least return me back to something better.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Um, but I mean, I guess my primary concern is how are you doing today?
I think, well, I feel like for my pretty much my whole life I was all like, I can't even say all over. I had my days of really bad days because of the alters too that were competing and fighting for control of my mind and body all the time. And I think what really changed my entire life was being able to get this information to figure out why I felt like so different from other people. This was probably what changed my life, and being able to, you know, meet somebody that can help me do hypnotic regression and find these suppressed memories in the best way possible, but in the most healing way, and retiring my alters, and then also opening myself up to these abilities that I forgot that I could do. I didn't even know I could do any of this until, about 4 years ago. So,
Wow.
I've only actually been doing this whole journey for about 4 years, even writing 2 books and everything during that time period, and doing all this, regression and remote viewing. It's only been about 4 years.
I mean, but once like a normal person remembers a past trauma, which is what I am gonna label what you went through. That's traumatic. I think you might not feel that way, and other people might not feel that way. But I mean, when a normal person that hasn't been in this program, remembers a past trauma, and things like that, they exhibit a lot of emotional problems. Like you said, you had mentioned depression, PTSD. Even if you take it a little step forward, when somebody who comes back from war, they experience PTSD. Whenever you're having these flashes of memory, has that affected your
Yes,
mental state?
it did for a long time, and it was like PTSD. There was a lot of different, a lot of anxiety, a lot of panic attacks, a lot of looking like a crazy person because I
How did you
couldn't
cope?
control. If I'm being honest, I think it was mixed up with the sex addiction, and and that's because of some of the trauma training that they did to us in MK Ultra. It was
Right.
sexual in nature, so it's not uncommon for people as adults that went through that to still have some of that lingering issues. I don't technically have that issue anymore because actually I was able to, which is, it's crazy to think that you can, cure something like that with hypnosis, but it was possible and it did happen. So you discover that you can have a more healthy way of coping with anxiety and stress rather than your sexuality. So, and I don't have to blame it on culture. I blame it more like on my mind not being able to cope properly with what I was experiencing. And I would, sometimes your mind looks for different ways to just handle the situation, and that's kind of what had happened. So it's really interesting. I talk about it a lot in my book about how that happened and how I was able to cure or heal that. It's still a healing process. You continue to heal as you move forward with your life. You still are going to have, things that happen to you and issues and things like that.
So, of course, I'm going to ask the number one question that I'm sure everybody's wondering the same thing. Are you able to now, or are you currently in a healthy, functioning relationship with a healthy sexual partnership, so to speak?
Can't
Yeah,
ask her
I
about.
think so. Yeah, I think
No,
so.
no, this
So
is serious because, like, some people that do turn,
Yeah, that's
like
true.
look
Yeah, I
about,
see what I see what you're saying.
victims of SA, like a lot of
Yeah.
them go to opposite ends of the spectrum and then they're not able but with hypnosis, this helped you, correct?
yes, and I feel like because of my MK Ultra and the way they had trained us early on in my life, I found myself to be very extremely, especially in relationships and intimate partnerships, I find myself to be very manipulative,
Sure.
a lot of validation seeking, and took a lot of pleasure in emotionally harming other men. And it
Right.
was because they had trained us, and this was a thing that they wanted you to hate men and think that they were like almost like weaker than us based on the power of our sexuality. We did feel like that, and that's how they trained us. They wanted us to be able to control other people with that sexuality, especially because a lot of the jobs that I was doing as a beta tracker were kind of mixed up into intimate relationships. So if they wanted me to start a relationship with someone, I had to. If they wanted me to, target someone and, be their girlfriend for a short time, I had to do that because pretty much sometimes it was a lot of intelligence gathering. They just wanted me to be around the person, listen, watch. And one of your alters is pretty much always has a photographic memory.
But of
So
course, the guy with the raspberry zinger was not a
no,
target.
and actually what was really strange is, because I knew him on a different planet. I met him here on Earth. I met him again. So it was really that's very difficult to do. You rarely work with somebody on a different planet and then you meet them back here in a normal life. That's rare to have that happen.
Well, I want to back up. Debbie had put up a comment here where she said, with the technology being so far advanced, why are you mind controlled? And why do you have to give consent for anything if it's so far advanced?
Because I feel like they know in some way that giving consent is going to save all their asses.
later
for the
on when it
future.
comes out.
And it most likely will, because we sign before you leave and go to retirement, you sign a form saying that you agree to be controlled and monitored your entire life because of this program, in this life and the next. You sign that when you leave, and you sign a form saying that if you don't follow the rules, that you agree for termination. But on the paper, it looks like you're being terminated from a job. That's not exactly what it means. If you read between the lines, termination means you'll be terminated.
Right.
You
So,
sign that. You sign that before you leave, saying, "Okay, I agree to be terminated if you don't
right.
like what I'm doing."
So do you ever find yourself currently now let me back this up. So do you currently work a full-time job, like as far as
Yes. Yes.
find yourself like when you're headed to work or whatever, kind of being watched?
Yes. They call that targeting. Most of us who are in the programs are pretty much monitored and controlled our entire lives. And a lot of us didn't know, but I'm somebody that, and I hope that people can see that I'm taking a huge risk doing this. I use my abilities to go and meet and kind of attach myself to some of these what we call handlers that are targeting people that were in the programs. I do that. I go and look at them and see what they're doing. And really, people think it's like these scary people, assassins or whatever. It's not. These are like the guys. You ever heard that term, the guy in the chair, the guy sitting behind the chair? That's
Yeah.
what these people are. They're sitting in a desk in their own home, like in an office, on a computer. That's how they monitor you, because everything in your house is technology. Everything. There's something they can monitor you any way they want to. You are not hidden anywhere in this world from these people. They have so much advanced technology. And I'd rather know. So if they tell me, yeah, we can see you anywhere, I'm like, that's fine. I'd rather know. But these handlers are who are doing all the work. And actually, these people, their handler division, they're trained in MK Ultra to do this job, so they're kind of in the same boat as us. They've been mind controlled just like us, but they're mind controlled to do this handler position. So they are actually working behind the cover of a medical insurance company, so many of us wouldn't know who they are. They're using
Hmm.
a lot of different ways to monitor us. And so I remote viewed one of these my own handler, before. He was living on the East Coast, and his office was in a home. I don't know if I talked about this before, where I kind of I used my abilities to kind of bilocate into his office, and he was sitting there at his computer, and he has very advanced like mental abilities, because he knew I was there, and he must have felt my presence or heard my voice somehow in his head. He must have been a telepath or something, because he knew I was there. And it was weird, because when I'm doing some of this, I call it psi remote viewing, because it's using psychic abilities to do remote viewing. I was using the ghost dimension, because in the room I saw his grandmother standing in a corner, and she was dead, and she saw me, and she was upset with what he was doing to people. And so I saw that it's almost like I was going to try to put my astral hands on his shoulders. That's how close I was to him. I looked over his shoulder to see what he was doing, and he typed up saying that the asset is combative, and that I was presenting with ill intentions and trying to journey toward memories, which is all true, because at the time I was laying in a bed using my mind to get there, and I was trying to gain access to memories. He knew it. He typed it in his computer, and he said that measures would have to be taken. And he wrote down, I saw him type up what he was planning to do, and he was planning to do something to my spleen and to cause tremors in my body. He said, and he wanted me to see it, so I knew that if I continued to tell people about this, then something bad would probably happen to me, or he would want it to be. And it's a lot of threats, it's a lot of intimidation, a lot of manipulation, and people do fall prey to a lot of this, especially because a lot of us are still having issues with, mind control and things like that. So it's very difficult to kind of release yourself from the grip of these handlers.
So have you ever had any harm done to you
Of
because
course.
you're coming forward?
Oh yeah, they literally would tell you that they're going to make you rot from the inside out. So there's a lot
Oh.
of us that even at a young age are already having liver issues because of the massive amounts of chemicals they give us in the programs. You're It's not normal for somebody like in their 30s to have, liver issues without having any type of alcoholism or anything like that. It's not it's out of the ordinary. So we're experiencing a lot of that, a lot of mystery illnesses that can't be found, and it's because they're using a lot of machines and things like that to impress, energy upon the body without you really knowing where it's from. That's why a lot of people aren't finding the cause of these illnesses. And I keep going to a doctor and they don't tell me anything. They're not going to find it because it's technology. They're doing it purposely to throw you off course. And death is not the goal, from what they told me. It's not the goal. It's all about control. They want us to stop talking about this because before, I don't know, 5, 10 years ago, if I would have said this 5 or 10 years ago, people would just call me a nutcase and be done with it. But now that we're able to kind of discuss it more rationally and definitely have more details, this is what they're afraid of. This is the fact
Right.
that they're afraid of this and what we're doing now. So I've been kind of trying to get the information out about this new project that I was able to view, and it's called Project Oblivion. So, and this is kind of going the rounds in the disclosure community as well, because I think it's really important. So the handlers that are working for some of these private governmental and intelligence agencies, they're saying that this Project Oblivion, they have to stop this. They have to pretty much squash this right now before it goes any further, because people are starting to believe some of the things that we say. And they said they pretty much can't have that. They want us to be pushed back into the area where people think we're crazy and, ridiculous kind of entertainment kind of thing. So what they said, they're going to be who the number one people they want to target is podcasters, because they said that some podcasters and podcasters are going to be very important to the future of the disclosure movement,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of people that are allowing people to have a platform to discuss this and get this information out to people. So
That's right.
that's a major risk to them, they think. So Project Oblivion, they think that, are going to be targeting certain podcasters, people that are allowing people, and people are coming on some of these shows with no judgment. And you're able to, like today, I'm coming on here, nobody's saying anything. They're letting you tell your whole story.
That's
So
right.
I'm able to get out a massive amount of information. And that's what the problem is for them. They're seeing that it's starting to sound more rational than what it would have been maybe 5 to 10 years ago.
That's right. So, one last question before we kind of wrap this
Sure.
up. And I want to address. I'm kind of going to backtrack because I know you said something about coming back at age 19, even though you were probably older. Do you know your real age?
I was going
It's
to ask that.
Yeah, it's so I probably would be in like my inside of my body is probably like mid 70s
Wow.
because of that, because you have that extra. Some people do it like 2 or 3 times. They're doing 20 years 2 or 3 times and doing that, and their bodies are not doing well because your body breaks down. It's a human body. We
Sure.
can't handle that. We're all going to be sick, and we're probably all going to die a little bit earlier than most people, is what I'm guessing.
So they didn't ever acknowledge birthdays or celebrate birthdays. You were just literally
You're like a robot. You're
a
like a slave
figure. Yeah.
robot. That's what I call it, like being like a robot. And I don't remember having any fun. I don't remember doing anything awesome. Everything was just like so boring and blah because you were so supposed to be so focused on work. Like some people have these ideas that they think that they were having this amazing time there. I never saw it. I don't know who these people are and how did they have fun. I don't know, because I wasn't really in the boots on the ground type military. Maybe they had a good time. I don't know, because I don't know if they're what they're saying. Sometimes the
Right.
excitement maybe make them think they're having a good time or something. I don't know. I never had a good time. Nobody wanted to be around me. I pretty much ate by myself, went back in my room, and started all over again the next day.
That's crazy. So another question came in. What do you believe Area 51 is doing? Or is
I
that a
haven't
cover up?
I haven't remote viewed that, but I would love to. That should be on my list to remote view that and see who they
I
have
would
over there.
love to, after you remote view that, like touch base with you. Like even if you
Yeah.
just send me an email,
You
like
send us a message when you check it
Yeah.
out.
yeah, and we could
Last
bring
time
you back and talk
you
about
should
it
have,
because I know that's a hot topic here on this podcast.
yeah,
Is
I
area.
actually got into a base not that long ago, but they caught me. So it was a big risk. They caught me right in the middle of it. So, and it's a very secret base. It's the one in Australia. So as soon as I was moving toward it, I was using my abilities to move towards the base. As soon as I got close to it, I saw this gigantic eye. And when I'm seeing that, it's because they had their own counter team of remote viewers seeing me trying to come towards there. They know you're coming. They have, I have my own abilities, so do they. They have their people too. And so they've caught on to this now. They call us lurkers. So they've caught on that we're trying to do this. So they have their own, a lot of these bases have their own counter team of remote viewers that are seeing you while I'm seeing them. It's crazy.
That would be wild.
CBC.
Yeah, that would be definitely wild for sure. But I know that Area 51 is a hot topic on our podcast. We have some good friends of ours, Mike and Sam, that took a trip to Area 51 and actually saw a humanoid type alien creature lurking behind some bushes. And, they were trying to go towards it and it ran.
I wonder if I got stuck out there. Yeah, I would love to try to remote view that and see what I can find and who's down there.
So Debbie said her sister actually worked there for 40 years.
Wow, that's insane. I mean, a lot of this stuff is real. Stuff that we didn't think was real, I don't know, 20 years ago. Now it's coming out. See, people denied it for so long, and now it's coming out to be true. It's going to be the same thing with this. People
Right.
denied that this was real for so long until we figure out in like 5 to 10 years that it was true the whole time.
Well, I think a lot of people have been denying, when I was growing up, a lot of people denied Area 51. Oh, it's just a bunch of BS. But then what's going on is now more and more people are going to Area 51 and they're experiencing things like Mike and Sam experienced. And now the truth is starting to come out. People are actually coming forward and saying, no, I saw.
People deny anything.
An alien.
People deny everything.
They do.
But it's crazy to me how this all wraps into the paranormal realm.
Yes.
So you actually use trained psychic abilities to remote view locations and whatever you want to go see. And then you're able to place yourself. I heard what you said, place yourself in the ghost dimension, with,
or I can, if I go into a base, I can also place myself inside somebody else's body. It's called remote influencing. I impress my consciousness onto another person. I did it in a base. I looked for somebody that was unfocused. There was a woman sitting at a computer thinking about her boyfriend. I picked her. I was like, that's the one. I got up behind her and pressed my consciousness inside her. It's almost like possessing her for a moment. And I didn't feel bad because these people are torturing children. I don't care. Sorry, right. You're doing that. I didn't feel bad about taking over her body. And I made her start typing to look at project names. We found Project Spectre, Project, Stranger. There's a Project Barnstorm. There was a bunch of projects. And as soon as I couldn't do it for more than 30 seconds, they caught me. And there was this big message that came across her screen. It said break screen, like in huge green letters, like stop. And she immediately got up and pushed away, and I got thrown out of her body. She got pushed away from the computer.
See, and Howie had made a comment up above a little while ago that said this is literal legal human trafficking.
It is, yeah.
Please don't get into my body.
Yeah. If you try to get in, if you do, can you just go to work for me tomorrow? That would be
great. Listen, if you get into my thoughts, you'll probably never get on the podcast
again. No. But Olivia, I really do enjoy talking to you and hearing your experiences. I think that it's first of all, it's very fascinating to me. I like to hear of topics that I can't research, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because this isn't something that I could just type in. I can't type in, the Disclosure Network and things like that. But at the same sense, it is topics that you can get some information of because more and more people like yourself are coming forward and they're speaking. Reddit is a wealth of knowledge for just an open platform for people to just put all the business out there. And I really feel like, we as humans, we are so mundane. We get up, we make a cup of coffee, we get dressed, we go to work, we work our shift, we come home, we cook dinner, do laundry, clean the house, watch some TV, go to bed, do it all over again. We live very mundane lives. and people like you are able to open the eyes of those that might be running through life with blinders on,
Exactly.
and I am a conspiracy theorist, absolutely through and through. I think, the government it is watching every move we make. Obviously, you can tell that because if I think about, I don't know, a Big Mac from McDonald's and then get on Facebook, all of a sudden I have nothing but Big Mac ads on Facebook.
Exactly.
So, I do believe that there's some sort of mind control out there, and then if you can go even further and get into the topic of like where I really became heightened was during COVID. You cannot convince me that this virus just dropped out of the sky and is killing millions of people, but you have a vaccine that you created literally overnight and now it's helping people. Like,
Exactly.
no, you're not putting that in my body.
And it helped no one.
Yeah, everybody I know that got vaccinated still got COVID.
Exactly.
So, it makes you really think, and for I can only imagine your emotional state when you get to talking about it, but it makes me somewhat angry.
Yes.
It really does. How are they controlling these children today? Everybody is probably wondering in the comments. They're not just coming into your house and snatching every child in America. They're doing it through social media.
Oh, they do, and they have specific people that will go into the house and take your child. They could take them for 6 months and put him back at the same time they took him. You never know they were gone. And
Yeah.
there's a particular man that did that to me, and he was called the Snowman because when he came in to pick me up, it was winter, and he had on a big jacket. And I asked him if he was a snowman because I was a little kid, and the name stuck with other people, so they started to call him. He was the main kidnapper of children. They called him the Snowman.
That's just crazy to me.
Isn't it? It's crazy. It is.
Yeah.
Hey, Daryl, Bedford Paranormal, Clover Hill Village in the house. Thank you for joining. We are getting ready to wrap this up, but for those that stuck it out with us, Olivia has 2 books that she came out with that are available on Amazon, correct?
Yes.
And what are the titles of these books?
My first book was Gray Mouse, Sex, Space, and Mind Control. And my newest book is Gray Mouse Purgatory. It's my favorite. I really put a lot of my occult information in there, and some of my paranormal work that I'm doing, allowing different entities to use my body to speak and step into the world. So the book too has a lot of that paranormal in it.
Yeah. So if anybody's interested, definitely, her personal accounts, direct personal accounts, all wrapped up into 2 books. She also informed me last podcast she has a TikTok where she does videos of the same stuff that we've been talking about on our podcast, but basically just informing the public of what is going on right beneath our noses and we don't even know about it. Definitely give her a follow on TikTok. It is The Gray Mouse on TikTok. She's got little mouse emojis. I love it. I've watched every one of her videos. And guys, if you thought you knew what was going on in the world, you don't. So, but you will soon, in 5 to 10 years.
Absolutely.
But if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out via email, inbox, or like I said, I don't know, Olivia, if your messenger is open on TikTok, but
yeah.
If you send her a message on TikTok, I'm sure she would be more than happy.
If anybody has, and my email's on there too. So if anybody has any questions about any of the information, or if they read the book and still have questions, just reach out to me. I'll try to answer.
Perfect. Olivia, I really appreciate you joining us for the second time. Please let me know if you remote view Area 51.
I definitely will.
Round 3.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. And for everybody that tuned in, we thank you so much. Without you guys, we would not still be here on Tuesdays at 8:00. Few things. Make sure you jump on over to Ryan Jones's podcast, The Freaking Awesome Paranormal Show. It's also live on Facebook at 9 p.m. We're 4 minutes late, but that's okay. We always show up fashionably late. And if anybody's looking for anything to do, December 6th, we are co-hosting Dinner with a Ghost and an investigation to follow. There is no telling what might just pull up a chair beside you while you're feasting upon a gourmet meal. So we will be at the Gettysburg Academy December 6th with Dinner with a Ghost. If you want the ticket link, send me a message or check it out. I've got it posted on our page. But until next time, I'm Courtney.
I'm Sean.
And we will see you on the other side.